Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sky and I hope to be your future book bestie. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Goodreads challenges. Now, this video is going to go over past challenges that they've had and the ones that are currently available now, yearly and seasonal. The challenge that they have available right now for users to participate in is the Summer Challenge, and it starts July 1st and ends September 14th. So pretty interesting that it kind of ends middle-ish in the month, especially when past challenges have ended towards the end of the month on the 30th, 31st, last day of the month. So I'm curious what they're going to roll out next and what the next challenge will be after this. And besides the summer challenge, of course, there is a yearly challenge, which you will collect a bookmark achievement for every month that you read a book. But before we get into the summer challenge, we're going to discuss the past challenges that they've had on Goodreads and the changes throughout all of them, what I like, what I don't like, books that I read to complete these challenges, and then we will apply all that same information and knowledge to the current summer challenge after we get through these past ones. As previously mentioned, the yearly challenge is just something everybody can participate in, earn rewards in. You just read a book for that month and then you will receive your bookmark. So unfortunately, if you have missed all your other months before now, July, when you sign up, you will not receive your achievements for that. You have to actively be reading and adding in your books while on it. Past books that you add in dates might not apply. Maybe play with it. If it does work, let me know in the comments. But as far as I'm concerned, I haven't had that luck. The first challenge that they had available for users was from January to April, and there was 6 categories that you could earn an achievement in. I earned all 6 of them, and I honestly fell in love with a lot of books that I found through these challenges. So basically, when you first started, it'll give you these categories. You can click on it, and it'll give you a list of books that qualify for the challenge. And I just went down that list, picked out a couple books that sounded good to me. I actually earned multiple of these because I was reading multiple books that applied for that category specifically. So it wasn't a really hard challenge to fulfill. A lot of books, more books than you think, actually will qualify for this. First category in the community favorite challenge was the most read books of 2024 reading challenge. There was 144 books that would satisfy this category. And I actually ended up reading a lot of books that qualified for this last year. So unfortunately, even though I did read them, that did not earn me the achievement. Because like I said, you have to actively be applying and reading them. So past books don't qualify. So those books were The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Taylor Jenkins Reid, such a good book. Love, love, love. And then I also had read First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. That was also a really great book. I listened to that on audiobook too, and it was amazing. The Only One Left, I also read that book last year, so that was another thriller. Alice Feeney with her Rock, Paper, Scissors book, super popular book. Stephanie Sue read it. She did her murder mystery. So I read that last year as well. Along with The Song of Achilles, Madeline Miller, Circe, Madeline Miller. Both those books qualified for this as well, but I also read this last year, so I didn't get it. But I did end up reading Fourth Wing, which qualified for this, so I just started that series. It was a good first book. It was a solid first book. And the Akator series, most of those books qualified for that, but I read all that last year, so just didn't quite apply. But, Fahrenheit 451, a lot of people have read that. I read that as well. Frankenstein, Mary Shelley, I read that a year or maybe 2 years ago, but I also qualified. So it's a really broad category. So a lot of these, they do work. I'm Glad My Mom Died. I actually read that for the first time. I read it for this challenge and that did qualify, along with Crying in H Mart. I had never even heard of her girl group before, but that book was so touching. So yeah, I'm glad I read that. That was well worth the read in time. So those last couple books I read actually did qualify for this category. So I'm glad I read them. They were really amazing titles, and all the ones that I'd even read last year that ended up qualifying for are equally just amazing pieces of literature. So it's nice that if you missed the hype last year, you still get the opportunity to read it now and still feel some sense of accomplishment, But realistically, we know that you can read books and literature anytime. The second category for the first challenge of the year was called the Epic Quest ones. Now, this was the 60 top fantasy titles of the past 3 years, so there's definitely a lot of room to work with. New ones, old ones. Well, 3 years isn't even really that old, so these are technically all fairly new. So, unfortunately for me, there was only one book that I read that qualified for this. It was The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. And it's actually this book right here. And I loved it. I read that book within like 3 days or so. I read the preview online on my phone, and then I just went and bought the book because not available at the library. Unfortunately, that is my end result. A lot of times I go to check out books, but I end up always finding something anyways. So there was another book in this category that also kind of interested me. It was called Electra by Jennifer Saint. I actually have read a Jennifer Saint title, which is this one, Ariadne, and that was an excellent book, so I definitely want to read that. I love a good little Greek spin-off goddess book, so yes, I'll be sure to check that out. So we're going to start with the third category here, since that one was short and sweet. I only had one book. Third category was called Era Explorer. This is one for the history books, and you can earn this achievement by reading popular historical fiction novels. Alright, so there was a lot of titles that you could have done for this. A lot more than the 60 from last time. But there's a lot of popular titles that from popular artists as well. The new Taylor Jenkins, Daisy Jones and the Six. I've seen that. I saw it all over Barnes & Nobles when I was walking around. So for this one, I didn't have any books that I actually read last year that qualified for this. I ended up finding some new titles through this challenge. So the one that I read was Lisa C., Lady Tan's Circle of Women. That book was phenomenal. When I tell you, I went to the library additionally to check it out, but that's not what happened. So I ended up actually reading there and sitting down, and I read it in 2 halves. It took me about 5 hours each day, and I read it in 2 days. It was so overwhelming, the emotion I had. I cried, I laughed, like all in the library. That was such an amazing novel. I definitely have to buy that, own that, read it again. The fourth category is the Essential Reader, and this one is completing essential books by Black authors. So like I said, it expanded from over the months. So this was starting to be the Black History Month ones. And there was so many titles in here too. And this was one of those things where I also ended up finding new books and new authors from this challenge. Just scrolling through the list, looking for something to read. Even when I completed all 6 challenges, I was still going through these, looking for new material because I was waiting for them to come out with the next challenge. So the book that I read for this one was called Missing White Woman, written by Kelly Garrett. This book was so intense. I read it. I did the audiobook. The audiobook was quite scary to listen to. I get so involved in some audiobooks. I really just feel like the heart palpitations happening, and then I had to make sure that I'm in reality and in check with everything. So that was an amazing book. I remember I just didn't care for the ending too much, so that was my only critique. Other than that, flawless stringing of plot lines and words. Yes, so they have it separated by fiction and nonfiction. In addition to that, I read a lot of these memoirs that they had. I read The House of Hidden Meanings, RuPaul. I read the Tabitha Brown, I Did a New Thing, and these were all titles I got from this, never read before. And they were both really amazing. I ended up going through the Tabitha Brown one in 1 day, and same thing with RuPaul. I read that in one go too, 1 day. So the fifth category now is the sweet and spicy one, and this is the 100 most popular romances of the past 3 years. This one I didn't clock many books in as well because I do not really partake in the sweet and spicy. I have enough of that in real life. I have passionate loves. I don't I don't need to read it. I just get embarrassed. So, Fourth Wing was one of the books that I actually read for that because it qualified for that. So, it ended up dinging the other one as well because one title can qualify for multiple categories. So, that and The Secret Society of Irregular Witches also qualified for that. So, Lights Out did too. I've been recommended Lights Out so many times. I haven't read it because I don't know how I'm going to feel about it being sweet and spicy. So, I have to give it a chance though. And then the sixth and final category is the Her Story one. And this was a March book for International Women's Month. So, I love that they dip into what they're celebrating in those months and what we should be remembering and reading and these voices that should be heard. So I love that they give them a spotlight for their months and for these challenges. So there was a couple books that I wanted to read for this. I remember one of them was by Sarah Lodge. It was called Victorian Female Detective. It was of real cases, I believe, of Victorian detectives. So that was definitely something I was interested in, but I couldn't find it anywhere at the library. And I was trying so hard to save my money because I'm trying not to just buy books. So my choices were a little bit limited for this, so I was just looking for stuff that I could get at the library. Or I was using my audiobook hours on Spotify. But it ended up being, I believe, a memoir. Crying in H Smart, I believe, was the one that I actually did intentionally read for this one. And I remember I was also going to read Year of the Tiger, Alice Wong, but I noticed the Jeanette McCurdy book also applied for this. So it's funny how some of these titles really just do apply for even like 3 or 4 categories. It just seems so much now that I'm thinking about it. But that was the 6th category, and that was the first one of the year. So that was a pretty easy challenge. They went easy on us. The seasonal challenge from May to June had actually 7, and this one was actually quite fun because some of them were considered mystery, so you had to actually wait for the month for it to unlock. So May through June, not too far of a stretch, but I could honestly tell because they give you a hint with some of the ones. So I knew one of them had to be a Pride themed one, which ended up being called Rainbow Reads. So I actually tried to predict what some of the titles were going to be. So I read a couple books. They did not qualify for that. So I tried, but if anything, I got to read more titles by authors' voices that should be lifted and heard. So the first achievement that you can win is by reading 2 books during the challenge. So just between May to June, you read 2. In addition, the second one was Speed Reader, which was 3 books. And after that, Book Boss, which I think you can guess, 4 books during that time. So those were easy to get. So the first real category was the Centennial Picks one. Centennial Picks, and it was the popular books of the past 100 years. So I read Agatha Christie's The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. That book honestly was a great one. So that's the one I read to qualify for it. But there were a lot of books on there that I had already read, and it qualified for that. And those titles include 1984, George Orwell, Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury. Then we also have included, actually, believe it or not, I didn't read the Wicked one. But Hunger Games was also involved. Suzanne Collins, Circe, Madeline Miller, Crying in H Mart, Fourth Wing. And one book that I actually really wanted to read that I saw everywhere was called James. Percival Everett. It just seems like a really great book. I literally see it everywhere. So, love that for them. Next achievement was the Heritage Reads. Now, this was titles by AAPI and Pacific Heritage. So, the book that I ended up reading that qualified for that was called The Teller of Small Fortunes, written by Julie Leong. It was a good, cute book. I loved the way it ended. I loved that it was cozy, and it was just a happy, feel-good read. And I can really appreciate that. I'm sorry, let me correct myself. It's AAPI and Asian authors. I just want to say that correctly. The sixth achievement was the Armchair Explorer, and this was just kind of not too descriptive. It was summer reading, like explorative, like basically you're reading a book that was set on vacation or something like that. So I don't know, but it's fine. I was still reading something for that anyways. So the book that I ended up qualifying for that, I believe, was The House Across the Lake, Riley Sager. Now, I hated that book. I absolutely hate that book. Hated. And I won't get into it, but that just, I know she can do better. Maybe she didn't want to, and that's fine, but I didn't like that. The final category is the Rainbow Reads. This is the LGBTQ reads, and there were just a lot of interesting titles here, and some of them just seemed so cute and cozy. I couldn't. But the one I ended up settling on, I shouldn't say settle, the one that I ended up wanting to read because I ended up seeing this title also in Goodreads, but I didn't know how obsessed I would get with it because I ended up listening to it on audiobook first because I had to. I needed to just get it in my system. It was called Murder in the Dressing Room, written by Holly Stars, a Misty Divine mystery. This was such a good book. I can't even explain to you. I loved it so much. It was just everything I needed. And the audiobook, the person narrating it was so cute. I can't. I just love that the voice that they had. It was just the best. So I hearted that. And that was all the achievements that you could win or earn for that challenge. The summer challenge has the most achievements to earn out of all the other ones. This one has 9 achievements. So the category names are Page Turner, Speed Reader, Book Boss, Challenge Faves, Poolside Puzzlers, and then we have 4 categories that are listed as mysteries. So we just have to wait for the allotted time to pass, and then it will reveal to us what the challenge is. So I can already assume that the first 3 are the same deal we had last time. 2 book, 3 book, 4 books, red fish, blue fish. So let's go ahead and see what the challenge faves one actually is. And this one says, collect the achievement when you finish one of the most read books of the 2025 reading challenge so far. Wow. So I'm curious to see what kind of books qualify for that. So I'll quickly go through and read a couple titles that I see, but we won't spend too much time. So that James book, again, I just was talking about, is there. The Housemaid, of course, so many Frida Madden. She's going to be very, very popular. Frida, Miss McFadden. Never Lie, I read that as well. Silent Patient, I just won't fall for that. The Teacher as well. There are a lot of books that I've read here. So definitely interesting. Before the Coffee Gets Cold looks good. In addition to the Midnight Library, I wanted to read those. All of this Fourth Wing series is all there. That qualifies. ACOTAR, Animal Farm, 1984, Red. Well, yeah, so this one will be a fairly easy one to participate. There's even the Emily Henry books again, and there are tons of memoirs on here too, so that makes me happy. I'm always willing to read a memoir, so I love that. So let's go ahead and go to the next achievement that you can win, which is the Poolside Puzzlers. And this one is a beach ready mystery and thrillers. Okay, I like that. That's definitely better than whatever the vacation one was going on. Of course, I kind of read one that was kind of crime-ish, but it was a bad book, like I said. Bad book. All right, so Never Lie again. We got some Lucy Foley, of course. Love her. Wow, there's a lot of interesting titles here. House Across the Lake is on here. Well, that's fine. The Crash I heard was really good. I heard a lot of people were reading that as well. Home is Where the Bodies Are. I read that one. Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. Well, that's an interesting title, isn't it? Wow. I think this one will also be one of those easy ones to go ahead and fulfill. There are a lot of ones here that just sound like So interesting. I just love when I see these kind of stuff and it gives me just the boost and the want to read and open it up, and I just get so excited about that stuff. Like, it's awesome when the hyperfixation is fixating. Like, it's amazing. Last 4 categories, we do not know what the actual achievement is going to be, but it does give us a little hint. So quickly I'll go through the last 4 of them. The first one is Talk of the Town, and that actually reveals on July 8th. I'm filming this today on July 5th, so 3 days from now we'll figure out what that is. The next one is Best in Show. That reveals July 15th. Happy birthday, Grandma, that day. So we'll see. The next one is Introducing, ellipsis, exclamation point. And this one reveals August 1st. So I wonder what that is. Probably some like show business one. I don't know. And then last and finally, On Your Marks, Get Set, Go reveals on August 14th. So I wonder if that's a sports one. If not, I'm wrong. I have been wrong before. I thought that Armchair Explorer one was about aviation. I was wrong. So I'm curious to see what these will be. So yeah, I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited too, and you're just as curious as I am, going through, looking fanatically and frantically, trying to see what's going to be the next achievement we can earn. Thank you everybody for sitting through this video. If you are participating in any Goodreads challenge or have participated in any Goodreads challenge, please let me know which one was your favorite and which ones you did, what categories you hated, anything, any comment, anything you want to input into the discussion, I want to read. So like I said, thank you so much for watching, and if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much.